Sign up now at elevate.miami.edu for my course, Organized Rhyme. At the word legacy, while involving some wordplay, I'll use the first syllable to build upon. We'll use the first syllable, leg. For the second syllable, we'll use an. And for the third syllable, we'll use the word knee. So now we have leg and knee. Can we use it in context with legacy? Let's just see. Wordsworth Productions with a S.com for all merch. I got 2 books available right now. Well, Words Are Worth Volume 1, and I also have a children's book called Socks. Age range from 12 to 15, so it's kind of like the middle school and high school age range, but adults can read it as well. Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of What Words Are Worth. And normally I would do these intros with the people off the screen, and then I'll bring them on and then be like the surprise guest. But I want these brothers on the screen personally because I would like to thank them and be able to look at them and let them know I am here this long because of them. I really appreciate them recognizing my talent. And for those that don't know, putting together the Lyricist Lounge TV show, these gentlemen were the scouts that had to pick who has the talent, which I don't think they get a lot of recognition for, them being able to recognize what talent is, who got the talent, who could take it to the next level and become who they become down the line. So these guys are iconic, legendary guys that are able to put together some of the best shows and best events that we, from history to today, modern times, we're still going out there to see and visit. These are the founders of the Lyricist Lounge, Danny Castro, Anthony Marshall, and these are the guys that have birthed so many careers that you still hear and still play to this day. So I want to make sure I recognize what they've done for me, and I appreciate y'all, man. So welcome to the show, the Lyricist Lounge, creators, founders of it all, Anthony Marshall and Danny Castro. What's up, y'all?
What's up?
What's good?
What up,
What's the deal,
Words? How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. This is epic for me because it's super rare to have both of y'all on camera.
Yeah.
That's true. That's definitely true.
I appreciate y'all finding the time to do this, man. I get asked about Lyricist Lounge almost like I'm a co-founder and this and that, and I always have to tell people about y'all. Like, nah, that's not where it is. That's not what it is. This is what it is. These are the guys here, and they're like, who? I actually was speaking to Rashid Chappelle, and he was like, "Yo, I want to meet them." I was like, what's so wild is I met Rashid Chappelle outside of one of the events Danny was hosting years ago. And I'm like, you walked past Danny when I met you, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Like, y'all are behind the scenes and actually behind the scenes making these events that everybody enjoys, but sometimes you're just out of the limelight, but it's always something big and incredible. So I know we're going to talk about the past, but I want to talk about currently. One of the things that just occurred was the Lyricist Lounge, like that Summer Park Jam, Raekwon headlining. Y'all put this spectacular thing together. My sister FaceTimed me from it, like, yo, it's crazy out here right now and everything. How did that come about, man? The Lyricist Lounge doing this Summer Park Jam thing after all these years, man, being able to put on these great events.
Danny, want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, it all came about it actually, like, we have a long history with Brick Arts Media, which is Celebrate Brooklyn. We started doing shows with them back in 2012, I think, and it was crazy because we linked up with them through this lady, and then we connected, and then we started curating shows with them. We did KRS-One. We actually did Raekwon back then, and also we did Ghostface, and then we did like the Crooklyn Dodgers Part 1, Part 2. We had like you know all the artists that was on Crooklyn Dodgers Part One. You know,
Yeah, that was classic.
Buckshot, Special Ed, and Master Ace, and then we had Ali Shahi Muhammad, and then we also had, who was it? I think Premier that did Part Two, and we had J. Rule, Chubb
Yeah, that was
Rock,
a great event.
and OC. So that was crazy. So anyway, like, fast forward to like this year, we always wanted to reconnect with them. We did like about, say, like 4 years with them back in, starting in 2012, and then fast forward to 2025, 2024, we started talking to them again, and we connected with them through a good friend, Rasul, who he has his organization that he works with, a bunch of arts organizations. I think it's the Arts Council. I don't want to mess up the name, but big shout
Mhm.
to Rasul connecting us again. And we just made it happen. We did 3 shows with Celebrate Brooklyn this year, and we looking forward to working with them, in the next few years. So that's basically how it went down.
It was like perfect time, and also because Raekwon
Hmm.
has the new album coming out as
Yep.
well.
Mm-hmm.
What I loved about it too is the fact that y'all also were having acts from the first Lyricist Lounge album also performing. So it was a great way that y'all were bridging it all together.
Right.
So I thought that was very interesting as well. So what is it like as far as I've seen also you did when you said Ghostface and Raekwon before, y'all did an event when it was like indoors and y'all would interview,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
right? Y'all would interview
Yeah,
them before they would perform.
yeah.
So, I was talking to Ant early about podcast stuff. So y'all do have some experience trying to get that
Yeah.
going with the
Yeah,
artists, at
Yeah.
a time.
Yeah.
absolutely,
I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that
absolutely.
series too. What about that series when y'all had the
We're
interview and
still we're still working on that. So that series was called Origin Stories. We partnered with Mass Appeal, Photographiska. It was in celebration of hip hop's 50th. And that was really like a live podcast and performance type
right?
platform, right? So we did 4 of them. We interviewed Ghostface for one of the first ones. And, we brought a lot of other folks that were part of his come up. So it's like you get to hear about the person through people that are close to them, and then you get to hear from them themselves, right? And then they perform. So it was unique, man. And I think we need more of that. Like you said, we were talking earlier about podcasts, et cetera. The truth is, we've built and created a lot of culture, but that
Yeah,
culture is not always in context. So if a young person just starts to watch a video, they may like the video, they may like the song, but they don't really understand how that song came together or the
right.
backstory behind it. And that's where a lot of these podcasts are now making a lot of sense. But yeah, that show we did with Ray was a classic event. As you said, it was 7,000 people out there. It
Man.
was a full-on family event, folks that we haven't seen in 20 plus years. And that's what the lounge is about. It's really about breaking through this whole young versus old type of thing. In the industry, that's like, oh, if you a certain age, you shouldn't be rapping no more. No, that's marketing. That's somebody in the marketing department telling you that. The truth is, we're a whole big family of all ages, and you know what I'm saying. And as long as you spit, as long as you know you got some talent, you know what I mean. You're welcome to the stage. So that's what we try to represent.
It's funny. It seemed like all the people that used to talk about ageism, once they got old, they was like, "Oh, okay, now I see why I got to respect my elders." Now I'm old. Let me make sure I'm on point with it. I
Right,
wanted to
right.
ask y'all something that people may not know. I never know who y'all favorite rappers are.
Oh
Who's your favorite
God, don't
rapper and
start
producer?
that. Don't start that shit. You
Oh
trying to get
man.
us in trouble.
No, like it's your favorite. Mine is G
Nah,
I
Rap,
mean,
not G Rap.
right, right.
yeah.
Nah,
I
I'm
mean,
a Slick
eh,
Rick fan forever. You know what I'm saying? I
Okay,
had Slick Rick in a damn frame next to my damn bed for years. You know what I mean? Like that's
mm,
the king. That's the
yeah,
king.
yeah, yeah. Mine's is Nas. Nas is like the GOAT to me. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
okay.
Yeah, definitely Nas without a doubt. I mean,
And
but
then
of
producers.
course, yeah, there's a bunch though. Nas is definitely number one, but there's a whole lot of artists, you know what I'm saying, that I love. But they all represent like dope lyricism, you know, breaking it down, being original. Of course, KRS is up in there, like Kane, Rakim, you know, all of those greats. And with producers like, you know, Marley Marl, man, Marley Marl, to me, he's one of the greatest of all time. You
And
know
he
what I
don't get
mean?
mentioned enough. He don't get mentioned often
Yeah,
enough.
I
Right
know.
now, you
That's
don't.
what I'm saying. I'm like, how y'all forgetting about Marley Marl? Like all the stuff he did. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the whole Juice Crew, like, you know, LL Cool J, like so much. You know what I mean? Like Laws of the Underground, like all of that still, all of them joints is still rocking today, and they like, you know, 30 years old or like 30 plus years old. You know what I mean? Yeah,
And
man.
then what would be your go-to song? Like when I was coming up, and this was one of my dreams. Like when I get my first car or when I'm traveling or doing something, I'm gonna play Ill Street Blues. That was like a dream of mine young. I was like, yo, when I get my first car, you can ask anybody that know me. I was like,
Yeah, that's
yo,
crazy.
wait till I get my first song I'm ever gonna play in the car is Ill Street Blues. And I think I
Did
did
you
it too.
do it? Right.
I
That's what I
think
was
I
gonna
did
ask
do it, yeah. Because
you.
I remember them holding me to that. Like, yo, you
Right.
got a car now. You say you're
Right.
gonna play. What's y'all like song like if you want to get in that zone? Like, what's one of
Oh
the
man.
songs?
Yeah,
You
if
know,
I'm
it's
going,
crazy.
yeah, good,
Go ahead,
good.
nigga. Go ahead, go ahead.
Now I was just gonna say, like, you know, like if I'm going on a road trip, I'm definitely gonna play the whole Illmatic joint. You know what I'm saying? Like New York State of Mind would be like probably that song to get me in the mood. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But also like Low End Theory. You know, I
Yeah, I
love
was gonna say that.
Tribe. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like, yeah, go ahead, Ant.
Yeah, that's a good vibe. No, they're same. You know, Low End Theory is still a favorite. You know, Slum Village too. That Slum Village
Oh yeah,
album is
yeah, yeah.
still a fucking favorite of mine too. Like
Fantastic Volume 2. Yep, yep.
exactly. I'll just play that joint back to back. But you know, it's so much music now, man. You know, like I've been DJing more and more lately, and it's like it's so much music. You know, I really try not to just stay in my generation. I try to kind of venture out. You know, SoundCloud in general. Like I won't even name an artist. SoundCloud on rotation. I just let that joint play. The algorithm is giving me everything I need because it's, you know, because I started as like a dancer, really, both of us, right? You know, a lot of times musically, I've always liked beyond hip hop. You know what I'm saying? It's always been like, and so I'm really impressed at this generation's ability to kind of mix it all up. You know what I mean? It'll
yeah,
go from some, you know, like Brazilian kind of style into house music, into trap and back. You know, and I just think there's a lot of freedom in that. You know. But shouts to all the new artists that are out there right now. The main reason we started Lyricist Lounge was to really be a platform for y'all to really be able to, this was at, I know we're gonna get into the history, but
yeah,
this is
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
at a
get into
time
it.
where there's no internet, you know what I mean? Like how the hell,
Yeah.
how do you even get on in an industry when you don't even know where the industry is? You know what I'm saying? Now you could Google it, you know who to find. So yeah, just shout to all the artists now, just kind of putting out great, great music, man. It's important.
What I want to
Yeah.
say is, with Danny mentioning Tribe. For those that don't know, that is how I got on the Tribe Called Quest album.
Right.
For anybody that don't know, the Lyricist Lounge had heard us rapping on Stretch and Bobito and said, yo, y'all got a good buzz throughout the streets. I remember the meeting verbatim, yo, people, hearing buzz about y'all, want y'all to perform at Tramps. We
Right.
go to Tramps.
Mhm.
I forgot someone was supposed to host, and then Q-Tip wound up being there. Y'all get Q-Tip to host the event. Me and Punch come
Yeah.
out, we do our thing. Days later, we come back to y'all office. Y'all be like, yo, Q-Tip and hollered at us, trying to find y'all. And we like, what? And that's how me and Punch ended up on the Tribe Called Quest album. For those that
That's
don't
crazy.
know,
Yeah,
a
that's
whole
dope.
another chamber that involves the Lyricist Lounge in my career right there.
Yeah,
So
that's what's up.
how did what was the idea for the Lyricist Lounge? How did it come about? So yeah, delve into that history of, you guys, how y'all met each other, how did this all come about?
Yeah, Dan,
Yeah.
you can start it off.
Yeah. Man, I, it's so wild. We've kind of told this story in different ways, but Everything is meant to be, right? Everything is meant to be. When we all kind of trace back to how we met our girl, how we met our wife, how we, what I'm saying, how our parents met, like, how our business partners meet, like it was really by chance. We were young, we were going out. I've been going out to clubs since 14 years old. Clubs like Heartthrob and Studio 54, you name it, Funhouse, and and Danny as well. While going out one night to this club called Roseland, club had ended out. It was like 4,000 people, that let out in the back streets of New York. And I'm talking to this girl. All of a sudden, she's like, "Turn around, watch out!" Right, run. Basically, she said, "Run." And I turn around and there's 12 Puerto Rican dudes chasing after me. Right, so I'm running through the crowd, dipping through shit. Finally duck, take a little beating, pop back up. And while I'm like trying to run away and get, escape free with my life type shit, you know what I mean? Danny and a good friend of mine were walking to the train. And so I got away from this whole situation, popped up next to them, and my boy was like, "Yo, what the fuck? Like, we thought we thought you got beat down. You got away." And I'm like, "Yeah." They like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." And my boy was like, "Yo, this is Danny." And literally that's how we met. 10 years later, we come back and do our 10-year anniversary at the same club, hosted by Dave Chappelle, with everybody performing, as you know. And that was, a big full circle for us. But it literally started by chance. You know what I mean? It literally started with just two kind of real New York heads just kind of doing what we do, and the energy, what I'm saying, the energy kind of pulling us together. From there, Danny, I'll let you take the next step. What happened from there, D?
Yeah, from there, like, so we met, we were both like about 15, 16 years old. Then we started, just hanging out, going out to parties, doing our thing, whatever. Because we were New York heads, we were New York teenagers, and this was like, before Giuliani came into play. So like it was easier to go out to nightclubs. You didn't need like
Right.
ID or anything like that. I mean, if they did
Fake
ask for
ID.
ID, you get fake ID from 42nd Street, Times Square. You know what I mean? So we had our fake ID. We would go out and chill, and then we'll hang out a lot. And then we started like boosting, which is like shoplifting. You know what I mean? So like we were all into like polo gear, Tommy Hill, all of that. You know what I mean? And you know, at the time, Ant was going to school at Julia Richmond. I was going to Humanities High School. You know, Ant was going to school with a good friend of his, Wayne, which is he's known as Tonga from Jiggy, and he got hooked, tied in with Jiggy, the Jiggy crew, which is a dance crew at the time. So like, we going out and everything, and then we decided to go to New Jersey. We went shoplifting over there, and then long story short, we end up getting locked up, and we end up like doing like about I think a week or two in juvie and in New Jersey. So we were like, that's when we started like thinking about, yo, we got to stop doing this and we got to get our act together. You know what I mean? And especially Ant, because Ant was tight at me, because like I got caught. I'm the one that got caught first, right? And then we go to court, and the judge is like, "Okay, guys, so I just need to know something. I just want to know, did you guys ever do this before?" Right? And then Ant was like, "No, this is my first time ever doing this." And then I was like, "No, this is my first time ever doing this." And then he was like, see, there you go. You're lying. Like, we have right here in record that it shows that you have got caught at this mall before." And then he was
Mm.
like, "Being that's the case, you both have to do time. You both have to, do a few
Two
days
two
and
weeks.
duty." Yeah.
2 weeks. Yep.
So
Yep.
like I remember that day, and I remember looking at Ant, and he was tight. He was like, "Yo, what the fuck?" He was like, "Yo, why you had to lie for, man?" And then like, our both of our moms was there. They were so sad and everything. And it was crazy. It was a real traumatic moment for us, you know. And
Yeah.
then being in juvie, like, you know, we in Jersey, so now we in
Right.
Jersey, and like, you know, all the cats in there were from Jersey, and we were the only ones that was from New York. And you know, like when we got in there, they were like, "Yo, where you from?" And then, you know, we both were like, "Yo, yeah, we from Brooklyn." And then we was like, and then some of them were like being real suspect. They were like, "Oh, some Brooklyn heads." Yeah, you know, like, so, you know, they used to like Brooklyn heads getting locked up out there because, you know, for boosting. So it was probably more than likely the low life cats or whoever, you know what I mean, from Brooklyn. So anyway, fast forward, you know, we talking, and, you know, like I end up getting cool with one of the inmates in there, and we stayed cool. But like moving forward, we get out, and, you know, it just so happened that like I was going to this alternative high school called Urban Academy. So they had internships every week, and I was able to like choose a good friend of mine's dad. He had a nonprofit organization called Sound Business Institute, and his name was Charles Thompson. So basically, his nonprofit was all about teaching high school students entrepreneurship. So I would go there every week, and he pretty much was just drilling me and his son. And he was like, "Hey, if you have any friends that like are into music, you know, you could invite them over, and you know, we could just have some open mics." So we were like, "Okay, cool." And then that's when I told Ant about, you know, Charles Thompson and Sound Business Institute, and then I just brought him right in, and you know, from there, that's where it all started. You know,
Well,
we
y'all
started doing
rapping?
open mics.
Were y'all ever rappers?
Well, Ant was rapping, you know, like I
Hmm.
was I was just doing a little. I was always behind the scenes. Like I was the guy behind the camera all the time. You know what I mean?
Don't let him fool you. Danny got a
And
hot
like
16 that he been doing for 30 years. It's the same one. And so yes,
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
got a
yeah.
verse in.
But
But
you
yeah,
know,
no, we were dancers, and you know, and then I became,
yeah.
you know, I was an MC as well. And I was on the
Okay.
Shiggy album.
What
Me
was
and
your MC
Prince did
name?
Tricks Galore, the entrepreneur. Quali still calls me that every time I see him. Every time I see him, he's like, Tricks Galore. I'm like, yo, shut up, bro. Stop, bro. On stage, loud. But nah, it was you know, I think that's something that people gotta understand. Like, this was a choice, right? This was a choice to get behind y'all. We didn't have to, right? I could have been out there just up front of stage with everybody else, you know, as an artist.
Right.
You remember those early 90s, anybody could have got up there, you know what I'm saying? Not to say they would have been as good as you, Words, right? But the stage was open to anybody that wanted it, you know what I
And
mean?
you
And
know, and Danny, y'all know in New York, everybody in the crowd feel they need to be deserve to be on the
they
stage.
would, yes, absolutely.
There's nobody in the crowd
Exactly,
that don't think they should be on the stage.
exactly. You know, everybody's a star in New York, so
Yeah.
that's how that go.
So that was a hard decision. You know what I'm saying? What happened is we did a show at Village Gate. It was one of our first shows. So just the storyline, right? As
Mhm.
Danny said, we meet the mentor. He has a loft space on Orchard Street in the Lower East Side, right? And he's like, look, I'll give you guys access to it. If you want to invite some young people, I'll invite some music industry people. Let's see what happens. Truly, he is really the third founder of Lyricist Lounge. Truly, it
Mm.
kind of was his idea to do it this way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Truly, we just really stuck with the plan. You know what I'm saying? Like, we saw the plan, we saw the vision. Once people started coming, you know what I mean? We really just stuck with that same play for 34 years.
Wow.
But so we get this loft. We're young. Remember, we're 15, 16 years old with keys to our own loft downtown with no parents, with no adults. Could do what we want, smoke in there, do well, we weren't supposed to smoke, but we could do almost what we want, right?
Right.
And you know, we just kind of pulled in our friends and family. Me pulling in folks from Julia Richmond, going to high school with Most, Big L, Jiggy, Jim
Wow.
Jones went there around that time. Danny in the Lower East Side, you know, bringing in that whole crowd. Then we had all the people from West Fourth Park, people like yourself, folks that were being told, yo, y'all can't rhyme here. Y'all can't stand here. You can't stay here. Find somewhere to go. And then we had the perfect answer for that, right? Here's where you go. But after doing the loft thing, we quickly grew out of that, right? People, you know, I remember the first few sessions is what they used to be called. We would be begging people to come, you know, and maybe 3 people would come, 6 people would come the next week. But by the third month, I don't know, like 100 people were hanging down the staircase. It was flooding out, right? And we knew that we had to move on to bigger things. So this first event we are doing now, going from the lofts to the little open mic venues, you know, we're now trying to take it past being an open mic to being a showcase, because this was us kind of becoming better curators. It was okay for it to be an open mic when it was $5, but now if we're trying to charge the crowd $15, right? We knew that we needed a real show, and that we needed to understand ahead of time what that talent was going to look like. We knew that we needed that show to be right, you know what I'm saying, for people to come back. And that's where the whole idea of the showcase came in, the whole idea of like you delivering a demo to us, which low key put a lot of people in the studio, right? A lot of folks who was just on some like freestyle cypher corner shit were not really thinking about getting a demo made until they wanted to perform with us. Then they were like, oh shit, because they weren't even really taking it serious. They weren't thinking about a record deal. They were just sharpening their swords. But now you needed a demo in order to perform with us. You got in the studio, and a lot of songs were made, you know, through that process.
Yeah. And in addition to that, like the other reason why we decided to do showcases is so we could get like an actual real audience instead of just a bunch of like MCs that want to get on the mic. So
Yeah.
like when we were doing the open mic, it evolved, and you know, like Ant said, more and more MCs started coming. We had like, you know, over 100 MCs that just wanted, that was on the list to get on the open mic. So we had to like cut that down, and you know, we was trying to figure out how could we get like another, you know, just consumer audience to come out and
Mm-hmm.
support what we doing. And that's when we came up with the idea to doing like a celebrity host.
Right.
So, you know, the first host was Dougie Fresh, and the first showcase we did was at Village Gate, which is now La Poisson Rouge in Lower East Side, um, or East Village.
Your French
Um,
is amazing, Danny. Your French
I
is
mean, you know, I had to like figure
mwah.
out how to, you know, like people always
Les
correct me when I
poisons
try to
wows.
say that shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, you know, like but it was dope. And like what Ann said, we did the showcase. We were picking and choosing who we wanted to get to perform. So that way we'll put together like a really tight show. But we still had the open mic after the show, which was crazy. Like till this day, I trip out. Like
Yeah.
our shows were going on for like at least 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah,
You
no,
know what
that's
I mean?
crazy. Many,
Yeah.
many festivals, many indoor festivals, a 2 hour showcase, then 20 more people on the open mic. So getting back to the story, that show that Danny's talking about, we get Dougie Fresh to come through because
Yeah.
he was one of our first, you know, between him and Educated Rapper, they were some of the first celebrities to come through the Lyricist Lounge back when we were at the Loft Space. So we got back in touch with him, got him to host the event. Um, but actually, before that show, because we did 2 shows there, before the show with Doug, I was the host. And this is what I'm trying to get to, right? I'm
Mhm.
like, bet, I could help produce it. We could produce this joint together. We out here, you know what I'm saying, closing the deal, contracts, out here promoting all this shit, out here curating. But also, yeah, I could host it. And then also, I'm going to come back and perform with my group Figures of Speech. Shout out to Chance Lover,
Hmm.
right? And so I host. I even went and changed my clothes. I came back, performed. I changed my clothes back to be the host. Yo, by the end of the night, I was so tired. I was so tired, and I had a conversation with Danny. He's like, "Yo, you got to choose one, bro. You got, you got, you got
And
to
you
choose
saying it,
one."
I'm up there always visualizing. Danny has the most distinctive voice, so I already know how he sounded
Yo,
saying it.
you gotta
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
choose one or the other, bro. You can't do both. Which,
Yeah.
looking back, I think you were wrong on that. I could have did both. I could have, if I had this and if I had that. But no, I think as we started this, everything happens for a reason. You know, I'm really happy about the decisions we made. You know what I
Mm,
mean? To like really see this vision through. The lounge is way more than just like an entertainment brand. I've always said it. We're not a record label. You know what I'm saying? We're not a management company. We're
yeah.
not music producers. We're not just event planners. You know what I'm saying? Like the lounge is a cultural institute. The events we do are community wellness events. They're cultural wellness events. They
Mm-hmm.
should be seen as such. You know, we
Yeah.
represent the culture, not the business. We represent the culture. So as much as the business is doing the weird shit right now, the culture is still here, and the culture is still important. You know what I mean? People are meeting at our events. People are going on to have babies together from meeting our events. These babies are coming back and are in the crowd. These babies are now on stage. You know what I
I got a
mean?
crazy story for you.
Talk about
Let me tell you,
it.
because I'm pretty much synonymous with the Lyricist Lounge. So whoever experienced it, when I meet them, they
Right.
bring up some crazy stuff. I
Yeah.
got two
Mm-hmm.
other questions too on this topic here, but
Uh-huh.
I got this student
Mhm.
last year. I had him for 2 years in a row. He did well, winning competitions, and last year he graduates. Final day he graduates. He leaves the classroom. I'm like, man, great job you did. He leaves. He comes back. He said, oh yeah, Mr. Johnson, I forgot to tell you, my dad has the Lyricist Lounge album. I just want to let you know that. I said, what? I said, oh, that's crazy. So all these 2 years, I'm
Yeah.
meeting his dad, meeting the mom. They never say anything
Ain't say
about
nothing.
knowing me from the
Wow.
Lyricist Lounge album until the last day he graduates. So
Wow.
that's what's so crazy. And this is, I'm in Florida, so it's crazy that this is, I would never know or know
It's
that, but
legacy.
this
Yeah.
this student's parent has the Lyricist Lounge one and never said anything to me about it, but knows, the legacy. I do got a question. Well, I want to say also, I think going to Lyricist Lounge was the first time I seen celebrity hosts. That
Mm-hmm.
was the first time I experienced it because the events were so they weren't like gigantic arenas, so they was very just like you can engage with
Yeah.
people so closely. So when I
Right.
would be in the front, I would meet people, which leads to also me seeing Q-Tip introduce Rod Digger the first time.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Was at a Lyricist
Yeah.
Lounge at SOBs. I gave Tip my tape. I'm sure he threw it away, but lo and behold, full circle, I wound up being on the album, which is crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
But within that same question and information y'all are divulging, how did y'all know y'all 15, 16? Who was it, or when did y'all both figure out we need to get this business acumen of charging at the door and get, because you could be that young and we into clothes, women,
Yeah. Yeah.
music, but like y'all said, yo, this ain't gonna work unless we become businessmen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I could say Charles Thompson, man. Like he's the one that put it, instilled that in us because that was the whole plan. Like when we originally started, like the name of our company was Collage Projects. So
Yeah, I
Collage
remember that.
Projects was like, while we were doing these open mics, a lot of people don't know we were actually doing parties too. So like the whole idea was like to like how do we it was before social media. So this was like the original social networking. And that's what he taught us. Like how you who's your network? Who's your audience, who's your network, and how are you gonna get to them. So the way we did it was like we came up with this strategy of like, okay, like put your 10 of your friends down on a list, and then get your 10 friends to get 10 contacts for you, each of those 10 friends. And then we kept on doing it like that. And then we were like, okay, so this is how we're gonna figure out how we could, just make some money. And at first we charged only $5. you know, to go to the open mics. But you know, it was something back then for like some teenagers, you know, that you know, we made a little something. And at that time, Ant was
Don't
working
lie,
at King,
Danny. Don't lie,
you know.
Danny. We ain't make shit for
Nah, I
years.
mean, but you know,
We
like
made
I'm just saying,
$20 that you and I would share and try to get back home at the end of
yeah,
the night.
yeah. But you know, like that, you know, the whole idea was that's
Yeah,
where it came from. You know what I mean? Like, you
absolutely,
know,
Okay.
Ant
absolutely.
was Ant
I,
was working at Kinko's doing the night shift, you know what I mean?
wow.
And, you know, like that's how we got our flyers, you know, it was sponsored by Kinko's on the low. And
Oh, dope.
you know, it's so and you know, that's where the idea came from to get our
You know,
business, you
I'll
know,
add
done.
to that. So with the early mentoring days, I actually wasn't able to get a lot of sessions in with Charles. You know, I kind of came towards the end. I came into a few sessions and he gave us the loft and we were on the go from there. But for me, my business acumen comes from my mom. My
Mm,
mom is a fucking hustler. God bless her. She's passed away now. It's been
yes.
20 years. But Mama Z was a motherfucking
See,
hustler and sold weed throughout New York for 30 years, way before this shit was legal. Was vegan way before motherfuckers knew what tofu was, you know, all the things that Brooklyn represents right now, you know what I mean? And not right now because it's a bit gentrified, but all the things that Brooklyn has meant over the years, this woman just really instilled all of that in me and was okay with me going out at 14 years old. Like both my mom and Danny's mom, like something was wrong because I would not
So, for sure.
think about it now. You're a 14-year-old
yeah.
year old going out to the club? No.
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you going, I'm going with you. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean?
Right,
But
right.
to literally let us go out when they don't know how to get in touch with us. You know, when that commercial came
Right.
on, like, do you know where your children were? Like, they did not know. They did not have an answer for that. You know, we were in these streets. So shout out to them for trusting in us. But yeah, my mom instilled like a go-getter spirit. People got to understand we're, you know, first generation born kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're first generation. Mother and father from Trinidad, they met on the train in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Danny's parents are Puerto Rican. Like I'm not even sure where your parents met. Where
Yeah,
did they meet?
they met in Spanish Harlem at
Right?
Barrio. Hmm.
And they were both born in Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, well, my dad was born in Puerto Rico. My mom was born in, you know, in New York.
Okay,
But, you
okay.
know,
Well,
like she always had, you know, a family in Puerto Rico all the time, you
yeah,
know.
it's still first
Yeah, yeah,
generation. And so
yeah.
with that comes this, you know, as people talk about immigrants and migrants and all this shit, like that's the fucking American dream. I don't know where this shit got confused. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, we're following in the steps of our ancestors, of our families that came to this country to make something happen. You know, our Taino families and heritage and like folks who are still standing up in this country to make sure shit is represented. So when you see hip hop, it's like folks got to understand that hip hop is standing on the shoulders of all this pride. You know what I'm saying? All this very prideful people. You know what I mean? And so when we get on the mic, like we don't give it, we gonna say what we got to say. You know, and so
Yeah.
that's what I love about it. But yeah, mom put the battery in my back, and she allowed me to go out and get what was mine. She stayed up all night, was worried all night,
Yeah.
but when I got home at 4 or 5 in the morning, she would go to sleep knowing that I was okay. And yeah, man, shout out to all the parents that's allowing their kids to do what's meant for them, you know. Yeah, man. Shout out to the creators.
I
Hmm.
got a question that gets asked all the time.
Mm.
This is a big question. Y'all got to settle this once and for all.
Oh God.
Where was the Lyricist Lounge at? Because that's what that is a.
where,
I'm telling you,
where is
when
the
you're trying to
lyricist
explain
lounge
the
at?
situation,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know,
where
we
was the
New
always,
Lyricist
York.
Lounge at?
New
Like,
yeah,
York.
New York City, and we always get that question everywhere we go, like all over the world, all over the country. You know, like we still haven't opened up our Lyricist Lounge venue yet, but you know, like Lyricist Lounge, like what Ann said earlier, is a movement, is an institution that
Right.
has moved around to from venue to venue to venue to venue. So
Right.
like that's basically the whole thing about Lyricist Lounge. What people don't understand is that is a movement, is a platform, a moving platform,
Yeah.
for up and coming artists, and the bridge between new artists and legacy artists, and that's basically what it is.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Because people ask, I'm like, it was here this week. It was here. I remember getting a flyer outside of one spot telling me next week is somewhere else. Like,
Yep, yep, yep.
so I'm glad y'all was able to put that
the
question
truth
to rest.
the truth is, like, when you really look at our history, we weren't doing a lot of shows every year.
Right.
Like, the name is way bigger than the actual amount of showcases we've done.
Mm.
Maybe per year. I mean, we did a lot of stuff in general,
Yeah,
open
yeah, yeah,
mics outside
yeah,
of Lyricist Lounge, but actual lounge events, sometimes maybe 5 a year.
Mm.
You know what I
yeah,
mean? It
yeah. The
wasn't
way,
like a,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, the way we were structuring it, like without even thinking about it, like we continue to do open mics, and we just named the open mics like different names,
Yeah,
and we would use
yeah.
the open mics to find new talent to perform at Lyricist Lounge. Lyricist Lounge was like the place where you want to be seen. You know what I mean?
And
And we
and
made
that
and
goes
we
into my
made it
next
that.
question, Danny. That goes into my next question. Like,
Mm.
y'all had a lot of superstars there. You had Foxy Brown, you had Biggie, Most, y'all seen Bay now. So which one like surprised y'all? Like when you were watching them, were there any that you were like, oh, this they about to blow, they about to be up out of here? Did y'all? I mean, of course, y'all have the eye and ear for talent, but was there anybody that was like, oh wow?
Yeah. I mean, I think all of them, like really,
Yeah.
like somebody that like there's a few stories, of course, like Foxy Brown was crazy. Like she was
Hmm.
so young, and
Hmm.
I like I knew that if she stuck with it, like she would definitely become something. You know what I mean? And like I mean, Yasin Bey, aka Most Def, like he was going to high school with Ant, the same
Mm,
high school, and that's how he started coming to the open. He was coming early, like he was coming when we
Hmm.
were at 45 Orchard Street, and he actually hosted an open mic when we was at the Muse,
With Foxy, yeah,
and
the one that Foxy performed.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when he was rolling with DCQ, his brother, and
Hmm.
they started UTD. Um and I seen something in them as well, like but didn't know that it was gonna be as big as it became,
That's
like,
that's
and
that's what I was
that's the
gonna
thing. Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. When you are so early, right? When you so early, it's hard to really tell who's gonna pop, right? And I
yeah,
don't think we weren't focused on that because that wasn't our job. Our job wasn't who's gonna pop. Our job
right.
was just to make sure that everyone has a platform to get where they need to go. You getting where you need to go, cool. And whatever that meant, you know what I'm saying? If you got the
Right.
deal, okay, cool. I'm building with a cat now who was on the first album where as soon as the album dropped, he went to Europe and never came back. He was there for like 15 years, 20 years traveling off of his one verse off the album. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Hmm.
there were so many different goals for
Right.
folks. Not everybody wanted to become Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Some folks just wanted to get that one single out. Some folks just wanted to tear up any circle they got into. And so
Yeah.
it was really hard to say. But as Danny said, all of the obvious ones, you included, it was a certain feeling. It was a certain
Yep.
feeling when certain people got on. You had that. You still have that, right? As soon as
Hmm.
you get on, the attention is watching, and people can tell. And I feel like people like you feed off of that. When that attention is there and that vibration is going on, you could tell you getting better and better in the moment. If nobody was
Yeah.
paying attention to you, probably would suck. But the fact that everyone's like literally waiting on every word you say, you know what I'm saying? That you got to be really sharp at that. And yeah, man, you guys are just all fucking talented, bro. We were very lucky. We were
What was the
very and are very lucky to have been around all of y'all.
Yeah,
what
and I
was
wanted
the
to. Yeah,
okay,
good.
good.
Nah, I just
Good,
wanted to
man.
add on to that, like in regards to the question. I think like mostly everybody that we picked to perform, like they all had it. They all had that it factor, but it was really the ones that actually like made a name for themselves were the ones that just had that drive and that like the consistency and
Mhm.
like just to really make it happen, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because there was some like extremely talented MCs, man, that
Mhm.
like that probably didn't make it as far as like say you or whoever else that made it, you know what I mean, quote
Mhm.
unquote. And so that's basically the deal, like certain
But there
people
was
did
some real good
surprise me.
moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like for an example, like Talib Kweli, he always tells a story about like how we didn't let him perform at the lounge, and he always wanted to rock, and he used to come to the open mics, but like he used to hit me up and be like, "Yo, what's up, man? When y'all gonna let me perform?" And then I was like, "Yo,
Wow.
look, man. I was like, look, just come to the open mic, man, and then we'll see what's up." And then
Because the thing
he
was, we were
got
like,
on,
you
yeah,
you need a song, you need songs, like
yeah. So
play us, because we were moving into that showcase period. We were like, it can't just be freestylers that are just gonna freestyle for 15 minutes on stage. We're like, what
Right.
songs do you have, And then he
yeah,
started to send us some shit that was, was perfect.
yeah,
Man,
and I think I
hearing the
think what
story, man. Hearing y'all
Yeah, I
talk.
think what yeah,
Okay.
I think what made us have him like perform was he came to an open mic that we were doing called Cream, and then he killed it. Like he just got on a mic and he had the whole crowd like participating in his song and everything, and that's when I knew. I was like, yeah, yeah, we gotta let him perform. And that's when he performed when Q-Tip hosted it and Rod Digger was performing for the first time, and Problems and Junior
Eh,
Wonder.
Danny,
So
if I
yeah,
remember right, Rod Digger was performing pregnant.
Yep,
yeah, she was performing eight
yep.
months pregnant. Yep,
And that's one of the moments, when you talk about like, who did you see, who surprised you? She was one of them, easily.
yep.
Easily, 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 just again had that energy, shut the fucking stage down. Anybody who was talking in the audience shut the fuck up to listen, because she was just that fucking raw.
Hmm.
Speaking of raw, Lord have mercy, Moore, who pulled up with the dirty fucking wrench on his fucking shoulder, right? To the Muse one day, performed there, shut it down again. Everyone was just like, yo, who the fuck is this dude? Because remember, we were all characters back then, right? Like we were from the age of hip hop where you need, like, what was your thing?
Right.
Redman, you're Method Man, you're Busta Rhymes, and so Lord have mercy came and was, through the Cellar Dwellers at that time, and just really again bodied it. Shout out to the Cellar Dwellers, Ugg and Phantasm. We ended up managing them too. Like that, they were incredible,
I
bro. It's
didn't know
just so
that.
many.
I didn't
Yeah,
know y'all
yeah,
managed them. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
managed and we got them signed to Loud.
I didn't know that. Look at that.
Yeah, yeah. That was a down year for the lounge because we ended up putting all our attention into making that album. You know what I mean?
The
Um,
first album, right? That's the
Yeah,
that
yep,
yeah,
and that the land of the lost.
yep.
That,
yeah,
yo,
yeah.
so all right, cool. What was it like to hear that song being made? Because that song, when that joint dropped, that joint was fire, man. Or the
Oh
Lord,
man,
and the way they were rhyming was new. That beat to this day, you can still,
yeah,
so
that
man,
was
tell me
You could
crazy,
get
about
man.
lost.
that.
You could get lost in it for real.
Yeah, and
What was
like it
that like?
was that.
Y'all cultivating an album, like
Yeah,
y'all.
it was
Man,
I'm
incredible. It
just
was
amazed at how
incredible, man.
young y'all were doing all of this, and like
Yeah,
nobody
it
knew y'all were
was.
doing this. So, what was
Yeah,
that
it
like to
was. It
be
was.
cultivating that album?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was dope because like we were big fans of Cellar Dwellers. I mean, they rocked Lyricist Lounge every time they performed. They bodied it. You know what I mean? Everybody was loving them. And then at one point, Matt Life and Scott Free was in the audience, and they used to come to the lounge on a regular. Big shout to Matt and Scott Free, and that's basically how we constructed the deal with Loud Records, because they were A&Rs at Loud at the time. So like the whole thing was, the crazy part about it is that like Loud was the hot record label back then.
Right.
They had Wu-Tang Clan, they had Mobb Deep. Um, I don't know if they had 3 6 Mafia yet, or
Mm.
but but anyway,
Raekwon,
they
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like they were like the super hot record label, and they signed Cellar Dwellers. And Cellar Dwellers was a very unique group because they represent, like, the mystics, which what they call, realms and reality. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
basically, like, they were doing all the D&D rhymes, Dungeons and Dragons, and all the, mystery, all of that type of shit. And then they also represented the street as well. So
Right.
like, I remember us having a meeting with Steve Rifkin, and he was just confused. He ain't know what to do, because he was just used to, like, marketing like street artists, like
Yeah.
Mobb Deep and Wu-Tang Clan. So he was like, "Hey, man, we don't know what to do with you guys. I don't,
Well,
I don't know."
also,
Like, so like,
just to jump in, like,
hmm
what people have to understand, because we've been around so long, right? It's on 34 years this year.
Mm.
We have kind of, the brand has survived through different phases that the industry was going in. So whereas we started in 91, this period we're talking about with Cellar Dwellers probably closer to 95, 96, things were changing. And, although we had a great rep, the industry was moving towards more street music, right?
hmm
It was becoming a bit harder,
yeah,
after that Mobb Deep album drop, after, the Ray Purple Tape drop, things were just skewing. Wu-Tang drop overall, right? Things were getting a bit grittier. And so there was this narrative going on around backpackers versus street artists. And like, a backpacker started being seen as a bit of a negative thing, really as a blowback, right? Because they wanted their shine. So how do you get your shine? You downplay something else. It was almost like the disco sucks period. You know what I'm saying? We watched this documentary called Disco's Revenge, of, right? How people were hating on disco, you know, for a lot of
yeah,
different reasons. But we went through a lot of the same things. Like, I don't fuck with
Hmm.
that backpack
Well,
rap.
I was a
And
part of that.
I
Definitely.
know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
know, I
And
know.
yeah, and
Definitely. I
it's true. Like, yeah,
remember that. I
like,
remember
just,
going through
yeah,
that. That was
So
heavy.
so it
Just
was
like,
so it was hard
mhm.
for them to understand what to do with these backpackers. And that's when we had a real good conversation with Rich Isaacson. I pitched this whole plan to go on the road. I'm like, okay, y'all don't understand it, but we do. Give us a van, right? Give us a van. We're gonna put Cellar Dweller's name on the side of the van, and then we're gonna travel around the country, going to colleges to promote their album. And Rich
wow,
looks me
I
in the
didn't know they did
face.
all that.
Rich looks me in the face. He's like, why would we give you a budget to put their name and faces on the side of a van that you then travel around the country promoting their? Why would we do that? And 6 months later, the SRC company was
yeah. They
built, and
started a
everybody had a
street team.
fucking van. Everybody
Everybody,
had a
the
van with their
street
name on it.
team, street
Yep,
Street team,
yep,
team.
right? And
yep,
so that's
yeah,
what people got to understand. The lounge was a vehicle for a lot of shit. All that street promotion shit, we've been with doing that. We were doing that
yeah,
since 91.
yep,
20,000, 40,000 flyers in the streets. You know what I mean?
hmm
Before people knew what street promotion was. So,
yep,
man, we ushered in and grandfathered in a lot of shit, bro. And we, quiet and still humble about it. But yeah, for those watching, just understand where a lot of this shit started, yo. You
For
know what I'm
sure.
saying?
That's
We
why.
about to talk our shit this year.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I wanted to do this interview, because I get asked questions that I have partial answers. So
Right.
I'm like trying to get the answers. So you get to Lyricist Lounge album one, right? The first volume one, right? And you guys are thinking about the idea of it. What what is it like as far as y'all saying we're gonna do a double album? Like, how do you have that discussion? How do you have that
yeah.
discussion? When
Well,
dude,
look,
everybody doing a one album, y'all are
I'll
saying,
tell you.
yo, we're
Too
gonna do
many
a
of y'all.
double.
I'll tell you how it happened. It basically happened the same way our shows happen. Like, we always want to book these different artists, and then it ends up being overload. So like
Yeah.
we wanted to do an album, and there was a bunch of different like records that we wanted to put on the album. So we had so many that we had to make it a double album. And then, so it happened by accident. And, like the cool thing about it is we was able to like, come up with the whole concept of
The
making
concept
the
was
album.
incredible to this
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Making the album like it was an actual lyricist lounge. And then, and then the second one was with like Kool Keith and Sher
Mm-hmm.
Menelik, and we were in Shea Stadium, which was like showing like how Lyricist Lounge just grew. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
like that's basically what the whole concept was all about. But yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
that
it
album
And
all
you
happened
know,
by
is.
yeah,
I was
that,
gonna say, that album to this day, people love listening to that album because of the way y'all put it together. Like they really
mm,
can feel like they went to a lyricist lounge. And if somebody asked me what was the lyricist lounge like, I can just say, did you hear the album? Because the album, when people
mm-hmm.
ask me, I mean, that's exactly how it was, yo. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'd be like, that's how it was. Like you,
yeah,
I, a lot of people don't understand. Like today, you had to be like ready. Somebody will rhyme at you. You going to the bathroom. You could be
Right.
walking down the steps and see people rhyming at the top. Wherever you're at in the venue,
yeah, yeah,
somebody's
yeah,
rhyming somewhere outside. Like it was like you always had to be on guard. And just the way it
Mm,
was put together is just like to this day, it's just like an epic album that people to this day. There's a show called That's Hip Hop that just
mm,
literally did a whole review on the album, maybe like
mm.
last week
mm.
on
Oh,
YouTube, and they
oh
go through
shit,
the whole album, and they
Okay.
go through.
wow,
Yeah, so I'll send y'all the link. And
Okay.
yeah,
Some people try to hate on the album here and there. The critics be trying to go in. I'm like, damn, I don't even
yeah,
know if I could listen to y'all. But
yeah. I
no,
mean,
I feel like
yeah,
we did a great job, bro. Exactly what you're talking about is what we set out to do and what people are feeling from it. We wanted to answer that question. Where is the Lyricist Lounge? What is the Lyricist Lounge? I remember some folks coming in from Paris and they were like, somehow they found our number, right? We would put our number everywhere and they call like, where's the address for Lyricist Lounge? Like, nah, we're not doing one right now. Maybe check
right.
back in like 2 months. They're like, 2 months? We just flew here to see it, and see if we could
That's
catch
true.
it this weekend. So
Because
we
when I
try
would
to make
travel,
this
I would get
album for
asked the
that.
same thing. When I would travel, I would get asked the same thing. Like, yo, so when's the next Lyricist Lounge? Even though I'm overseas, they're asking about when's the next Lyricist Lounge.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I get it
That was the
totally
Kids,
question
man.
all the time.
all
Like,
the
Yeah.
time.
When is the
So
yeah,
next lounge?
how hard was
yeah.
it for y'all to get all these artists together? Because I mean, come on, man.
I mean,
It's
like I think it's
you got
because
everybody on there. It's like All Star City.
yeah, I mean, when we started recording, it was like I think 1996 or something like that, and at that time, we already had like a good, strong momentum going with all these artists and everything. So like,
Yeah.
and then we had a wish list. So like,
Mm-hmm.
like a bunch of artists were submitting their tapes as usual,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure I don't remember how we got the word out that we were working on an album, but we were actually doing underground airplay tapes, if you
Right.
remember, with Echo
I
Unlimited.
remember that. I
So
remember
so
being on
Mm-hmm.
one
that's
of those.
so so that's how it all started.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the underground airplay tapes, we were executive producing those tapes, and we were getting music for that. And then that's when we came up with the concept to do a compilation album. So like yeah, so the songs were
Yeah, it
getting
was definitely
submitted.
a natural
Yeah.
progression. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was definitely natural. Just to jump in, it was,
Yeah.
even me to, again, I'm always bringing back to the beginning of this conversation, like everything happens for a reason. Like it's just really natural progression. We were in Maddie C's office at the Source, right? Like this is the early Source, Source 1.0 crew. And we would always go to him. He's the one that introduced us to Mobb Deep. He's the one that introduced us to Big. Between Matt and Stretch and Bob, those were like our go-tos, and then just being out in these streets. But while in his office, you know, I don't, you know, for those who are old enough to remember fax machines, right? Somebody faxed him some artwork, right? They faxed him some artwork, and he just took that piece of paper and like taped it to his wall. When we come in, I see the artwork, and the shit's crazy. It's the classic Echo artwork of the character with his foot out, and the Echo at the bottom of the foot. And so I'm looking at this shit, and I'm like, yo, this shit is crazy. Who is this? He's like, I don't know. Some dude just fucking named Echo. He faxed us his shit. I take the number on the bottom of the facsimile. And we get back to our office, and I write a note. Yo, your shit is hot. Call us. We need somebody to do our flyers. And I faxed the shit over, and he calls us. And literally, that's how we met Mark. You know what I'm saying? And he was this young kid all the way in Lakeview, New Jersey. Only access to hip hop was the Stretch and Bob show. And now we're giving him a main vein into the culture. And so one of our first shows at Supper Club, he was doing live murals there for us. And you know, as his company grew, we kind of grew alongside him. We were their first marketing team, their first sales team. You know, we would go to the trade shows. People thought the company was owned by me and Danny. You know, this is at a different time in hip hop where people are like, yo, who the owners, right? And so seeing Black and brown people felt good. Like, okay, let us support this thing, right? But, you know, it was a really dope friendship initially, and they were really helpful in helping us to become more national. We were really helpful in helping them to ground themselves in the culture. And then, you know, we kind of all went from there. But yeah, the music making started with the Underground Airplay tapes. Nick, what was Nick's producer name? I'm thinking of Nick in Jersey. Nick Wiz. Yeah, shout out to Nick Wiz.
Shout out to Nick Wiz.
Yeah, and that's also how the whole Cellar Dwellers thing developed. So we with Nick, we're doing, you know, the tapes in his basement, you know, which leads to him introducing him to Cellar Dwellers, them working on more stuff together, us becoming better producers. And then it was a natural progression. Shout out to Forte, right?
Yeah,
we had an office
Forte.
John Forte. We had an office in the New Yorker Hotel, 15th floor, which was a classic floor. You know, Zulu Nation had an office there. I think Rose family was on that floor. There's a few people on that floor. But Forte was running the studio for Raucus. And that's where he told us about Raucus. And then we started to do more and more research. And yeah, man, it was all up from there, you know.
I mean, man, the more I hear the story, like, I think like have to take into account that y'all were having offices. You know how hard that is to, like for real. Those little things like that back then, because I'm not y'all, so I'm not understanding the dynamics, what it takes to go get the lease. You know, you got to pay the rent or whatever on there. I'm not, all I'm thinking about, yo, can you put me on the rhyme? You get what I'm saying? But like now that I think about it, after growing up and maturing, understanding how difficult it is to have to pay rent or mortgage and all that stuff, I'm like, yo, these dudes is mad young back then. I'm trying to get on the rhyme, and they probably worry about the lease, and they got an office. We're moving to our office, and then later on, you know, not to mention later on, we're hanging out at your office again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all had offices. So like, I don't even think I could even fathom that until now. Like, man, I'm listening like, damn, that young thinking like that. So I had wrote that down because I didn't want to forget that point about y'all having an office. So
words, we were quiet, but we were aggressive, bro.
Yeah,
it was aggressive.
Yeah,
me and Danny, we fighting, bro.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like y'all be in the shadows. Like,
where we at?
Y'all like in the shadows of doing all this stuff, though. Like, I'm like, yo, it's
still to this day, we like, yo, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? We not here for no reason. We're not here for a long time. Like, we got work to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a passionately driven project, bro. This is passion. Like, we not on the mic, but trust me, we spitting. Because like beyond just the culture, just what I'm saying, beyond the culture, it was the business. Like, we were in these people's faces like, yo, so this the deal we need to really make this work. Well, nah, we don't do deals like that. We didn't do that with Wu-Tang. I'm like, we're not Wu-Tang. We're not Wu. Shouts to them. but we're not doing that small deal. We need what we need. Like,
How
we
was it? How
wasn't
was it?
playing in these
Man,
people's faces,
to get the
bro.
deal? To get the deal for the Lounge album? How like? Because we, man, you know how many people on there? You know, just trying to put that together. What was that like to go to a record label and be like with Raucous
Man.
at that time and just kind of be like, "Yo, we're doing a double album. We need this budget." Manufacturing cost is a huge thing in itself. They think about
Yeah, so
double
just
album.
convincing
Now we
them
got
with
to
the
buy
double.
double joints, and
Yeah,
and then I have, if you look on the left right here, anybody look to my left, you see the album that's an album hanging up on my wall. I have it. That joint got like 4 records in it. I had to take records out of it just to hang it up on the wall in here. It wouldn't even fit all the records in that joint. So,
Words,
everybody know that
was a
cost
journey.
is crazy.
Yep.
That cost is crazy to do vinyl. 4 vinyls is crazy. So what was that discussion like to say this is what we're doing? We need 4 vinyls. We need, what was that like?
It was a process. Words. We shopped to everybody. You know what I'm saying? We shopped to everybody. We had to be smart because we weren't the artists. So we needed a type of deal where we could also get paid, right? So we were looking for a distribution deal. We were looking to become a label, so to speak. And, nobody really was seeing the vision. They knew us, they knew what we were doing in these streets. But, it wasn't really until Raucous, and I don't know, it's like reading between the lines. It was like, I think we were having this meeting with them, and it was like, I was talking to one of the owners. I'm like, wait a minute, what's your last name again? He's like, Murdoch. I was like, all right. I'm over here counting dudes' pockets and shit while he's telling me his name. Like, okay, so y'all do have some money, with a last name like Murdoch, knowing who his dad was, and I'm saying, like, how much investment they had access to. This is at a time where if you're gonna sign to an independent, you needed to understand that they had the fucking money and they had the staff and like they could do what they're saying they're gonna do.
And they're gonna put one single out, see how that does first. They're not even doing all this other stuff.
Right.
Nah, so we rolled the dice with them, and we were very lucky. And so were they.
Yeah.
So were they, because we developed, and I'm gonna let you jump in, Danny. We developed a whole community for them to pull up and just sign. Right.
Yep.
We had been developing this community from 91 till 95, 96.
Yeah.
And then when they were born, they just started signing everyone that we developed. So the truth is, it really should have been an even deeper partnership between us.
Yeah.
We brought Mos Def there. We did the first Mos Def single. Truthfully, his album should have been on Lyricist Lounge / Raucous, but that's another story for another podcast.
I know. We got a lot of lessons that we learn now.
We did. We did.
So many lessons and stuff, but I always think about but we still here though.
Definitely.
Danny, you just gonna elaborate on it?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna add on and say that like what Ant said, we were shopping the album, but I think that during that time there was a lot of gatekeeping going on, like in regards to like who would get put on and who wouldn't, because like we talking about the era where like independent record labels were still new, like and we were shopping at these major labels like Geffen and Jive and they just didn't get it. Either they didn't get it or they didn't want to work with like these younger um entrepreneurs that like had this new idea. You know what I mean?
We were underground.
Yeah, we were underground. And that's what it was. Like we were known as we was like the quote unquote underground backpacker, kids that do this showcase, and they just didn't get the whole compilation thing. But so like with it just so happened that we were blessed that like what Ann said, John Forte, he had we bumped into him. He was running a studio. He became an A&R over at this new label, this new independent label that nobody knew about, called Raucous Records.
I didn't know John Forte was an A&R there.
Yeah. So like, and that was the whole thing. Like, being that, John Forte performed at Lyricist Lounge a few times, and he had love for us. He was like, "Yo, I'm gonna bring y'all. Yo, don't worry about it. I'm bringing y'all over there, and I'm gonna set up this meeting, and we're gonna make this happen." And at the time, like, the only hip hop that Rawkus had was, I think,
Company
Company
Flow.
Flow, the Rose Family, and
Right.
Talib Kweli did
Plastique.
his Talib Kweli did his first single, 45 Live, and that's all they
Mm-hmm.
really had. And they had like a rock band. So
Mm-hmm.
like, and at that time, Rawkus was these young cats that they just got out of college. I believe they were going to Brown University, and one of the guys was Rupert Murdoch's son. And so they had the money. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
And just for the record,
yeah,
he got money again. He got some more money. He just launched a new record label. You
yeah.
know,
So
shout out to you. If your politics are right,
he
you
may
can
need to
holler
holler
at
at them.
us. If his politics are right, you
Right.
know.
They
Yeah,
were
yeah,
really
yeah.
they're really early on that with with LP. For those that don't know,
Yeah,
that company Flow, that's where LP started. That's in
yeah,
the group
Uh,
now, Run the Jewels. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
shout to
where
LP.
you get LP stemming from that. So
Yeah.
then during that session, during one of the sessions, so I'll tell you my journey getting to the studio before we get to this whole Lyricist Lounge show thing. I'm at
Uh-huh.
school. Y'all are having a session at Firehouse Studios doing the skits part. So I get the
Mm-hmm.
call about that. I'm in school at Old Westbury. I'm in the dorms. I'm like, yo, I'm about to head to the city. They doing the Lyricist Lounge album. I end up grabbing my boy Rise that was at my
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
studio.
Rise. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, at that time, I didn't know how well he rhymed like that. I didn't know he would rap like that. And I heard him like one time, and I was like, you kind of nice with this, yo, roll with
Come with
me.
me.
So then he was like, he came with me. We come to the studio, and it was like, yo, I probably won't make the album. I said, yo, to make the album, after I rhyme, just cut into my last bar.
Just
uh,
jump in.
I told him that. I said,
yeah,
yo,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my verse. Just make sure yo. And then he started coming in. I said, yeah, if you do that, then you so I had a little plan to try to keep him on it because I felt he was nice and he's
That's
nice.
dope.
So he
Yeah.
winds up having his career. Shout out to Roz. I still talk to him. So during that session, this is pretty much so those that don't know, the Lyricist Lounge album is being recorded. We have a break during that time. It's like 30 MCs in this small studio Firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Wise Guy and Gaston are like two twins that archive almost everything in hip hop. If there's two events, they split up. One is going to one event, one is going to the other event, and they record pretty much almost everything. They're pretty much like almost probably like Ralph McDaniels with the video music
Yeah.
box tapes, but
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
underground hip hop,
Yeah.
right? So we're sitting there, it's downtime. Lo and behold, they pull out the radio as they always carry the radio and the camera. They were way ahead of their time with that. They pull out the beat. Everybody starts rhyming. We got Thurston Howell the third there. We got AL there. Punch is there. I mean, it's just packed. And the competitive nature of us being in there, once the cipher started, it started to my right. And all I'm thinking is, how do I top everybody? Because it's a lot of us. So then for those that's want to know the story, the once that comes to me, the camera, I turn the wall back behind me into a board, pretty much kind of foreshadows me being a teacher today,
That's
which is kind of
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, that's real crazy, bro.
It's crazy, right? I use the wall and I start acting like I'm teaching people at home. So that's what I thought when the camera came to me. I said, I'm going to do an instructional video of how to rap at home. So that's what happened. So in my mind, I was like, that's the only thing I could change this right now. I could do something like that. Other rappers in there start raising their hands, asking me questions and rhyme, and I respond back to them in rhyme. And that tape circulates, and this is how we get the Lyricist Lounge show. But I'm giving my perspective of it. So then auditions start happening, kind of like y'all guys picked who y'all wanted. So I don't know that side. See, so now I remember there's a meeting up in the building in the office, and y'all start figuring out how to put the pilot together. So I knew Power, but now I'm really getting to know Power more. Fool pops up, and then we do figure out what are we gonna write and what are we gonna present for the show. So how did y'all pick us? That's
Well,
how did y'all know?
let me jump in, and then Danny, I'm gonna make it quick.
But you know what? Before you say something, Ant,
yeah.
It actually plug in my computer real quick. It actually makes sense. How come y'all picked us? Because now I hear the history of everything else y'all did with finding everybody. You know what I'm saying?
There's probably a part that you're not aware of. So, for people who live in New York, like we all know about public access channels, right? Public access channels are these free channels. It's on TV, it's on cable, but you can go to this kind of community center and get access to editing and cameras and all this. So in the early days in high school, I was taking production, learning to edit, but Danny and Power started a show, right? Through public access. What was the name of the show?
My Life,
right? So Danny was already on cameraman. Danny was always cameramanning, right? Whether it's at the shows or whatever. So he and Power were already working on sketches. You know what I'm saying? They were already developing sketches. You already had your placement as one of the illest MCs and obviously launching the rhyme sketch in that first instance, right? And so you were easy. Power made sense because he's already developing sketches. And then I think Fool, Danny, you could jump in on Fool and everyone else, but
well, basically, like with Fool, we
I
had
think that
this
was like Jake and Perry and them were really excited about it.
Yeah. We
Wait, before you start, Danny,
yes.
before you start, did y'all have like a wall of MCs that y'all chose from? How do you know what I'm saying? Or you just
no.
tell me how you got to Fool?
Well, basically, we got to Fool because he was a character. You know what I mean? Like Fool. We saw Fool as a combination of Old Dirty Bastard and Flavor Flav. You know what I mean? So we thought he would be like that next guy when it comes to his character and his energy. He was funny. He could actually rhyme, which a lot of people don't know. And he was just like a dynamic character. So like, and at the time, we did a lot of shows with Thurston Howell third and Master Fool. So like, we were recording records.
Sense.
Yeah, we were recording records with Master Fool. And it just made sense. The balance, that's what we were looking at. How can we create this whole balance? You know what I mean? We knew that Power, he was always in all the videos and all of that. And he was like hilarious. Like, I grew up with him in Lower East Side. And, he was a character in his own. And then of course you were like, you were like the foundation of it because of like that whole, the whole thing that happened at the session.
And you carry, and shout out to you, bro. If we've never said it, you carried so much on your shoulders for that whole fucking show. It wasn't just your own sketches you were writing sketches for the celebrities that were coming on. You really are one of the executive producers, creators of the show that
and writers.
and writers, but that never got those credits. You know what I'm saying? So I want to give you those credits live right now. You really are one of the creators of the show and one of the main backbones of this shit. So thank you.
Definitely.
It was grueling, man. We all would stay up at night and just be like hours, brother. I mean, hours of rhyming. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was telling them about we would have ideas that we would just nobody took it personal. If you had an idea and nobody's messing with it, we throw it up in the air and we do it like we shot it down. So, you know how hard that is to have MCs not take some personal working on a collaborative project. And collaborative rhymes, like, and everybody get along because
you're a fair person, Words. It's easier when the person who's at the lead is a fair person. it's easier not to take it personal. You know what I'm saying? When someone's heavily ego driven and it's like, nah, you know, like you have a certain way of making people feel involved, that creative process,
Thanks,
you know?
man.
Yeah,
And
Thanks.
that's
bro.
the
I try to
definition of
live
a
my
good
life.
leader.
Everybody
man.
anybody talk to that know me, I just try to be clear up front. I'm not, there's no gray area with me, really. So my thing, like, if we're writing the sketch, we always was like, what's best for the sketch? If I got one line in there, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? We had to remove that. This is not your rhyme. This is not your rhyme. This is a rhyme for the show. And we all got on board with that so fast. And
That's
you know
so
what
dope.
Pardon,
That's
I got
so
the
dope.
AC
No, you
out.
good. You good.
But one of the main things about the show that was dope was like us not taking it personal, and then like also knowing the fact that we're writing for the guests coming on. So like Snoop, you know what I'm saying? And then getting a compliment from Snoop coming in saying, yo, who wrote this? Who wrote this? Snoop was like, yo, this is some old stuff here. He said, only thing I want to change is I want to change the Adidas to Chuck Taylor's.
Right.
And I want to say the Dreamcast with the blue controller. That was it. That's it. He changed.
That's a great story.
Yo, people don't understand how classic this whole show is, man.
I could tell you the other stories too of the writing aspect was Crazy Bone, right? So we get Crazy Bone, get him booked for the show. He loves the show. The thing he was afraid of when he's coming on the show is are we gonna have him rapping East Coast? We wrote the double time rhyme. So
rapping East Coast is crazy.
Yeah, because remember he's seeing a lot of East Coast or whatever. He don't know if we're gonna come in with the da 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 da. He ain't seen that flow from us on the show. So we sat there and wrote that. Like we were able to write everything for anybody that came on. So that's the thing about the beauty of the show and everything. One of the things about it was like, what was like the challenges y'all had, like keeping it the authenticity of the lounge when it went mainstream? What was that challenge with y'all watching the show and dealing with the fame?
Hell yeah. And right before that, though, there was an interesting something for you to understand and everyone else. The show evolved into what it is, right? In the beginning, it was called Press Record. It wasn't called Lyricist Lounge Show. It was Press Record. We weren't even trying to have like a full-on cast. We just wanted to have a quick rotation of sketches. So it was supposed to be revolving. Okay, just have a bunch of people make sketches. The format will be like someone watching a TV show and they're just clicking through from show to show to show to show. They didn't really fully gel with that. And because we had this big history behind Lyricist Lounge, they were like, yeah, but what's this Lyricist Lounge thing about? And so I was a hard head back then, still am, but hard head when it comes to the brand. And I was like, nah, I don't want to call it Lyricist Lounge Show because they may fuck it up. I was like, what if they fuck up our brand?
Yeah.
To your question, right? We were the Underground Kings now on MTV, which was in that time a sellout move, right? Yeah. Look, I remember getting out of a train. I bumped into a friend of mine. He's like, yo, Ann, I'm glad I saw you. I was like, yo, what's up? Nah, motherfuckers was real passionate back then. Yo, Ann. I was like, yo, what's up? He's like, yo, MTV stole your brand, bro. I was like, what you talking about? He's like, yo, MTV stole your brand, bro. There are posters around the corner that say Lyricist Lounge with MTV on it. I was like, nah, I know. He's like, nah, you don't know, bro. Trust me. Go look. I'm like, nah, we did a deal with MTV. He's like, yo, what you talking about? You did a deal with them? I was like, yeah, that's our show. He's like, nah, bro. Go look. I was like, yo, trust me. It's our show. So people didn't believe it. They couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, what we collectively were doing, we're trying to get to that level. That we were trying as an underground community to get above ground.
Right.
And when we got above ground, we all got shook. Because we were like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? This shit is happening. And not only is it happening, it's feeling like it's out of our hands.
Yeah.
it feels like it's happening to us now.
Yeah.
It feels like other people are in the mix saying what they think we should do, how we should rock. You know, even down to like when the show is being built, I want y'all to understand, like, I was in LA the whole time. I didn't come to the house all the time.
Right.
I could have had my nose and creative all in that shit. Nah, I think we should do this, we should do that. I knew that y'all had it. I knew that y'all had it. And, you know, Rick Rubin made an important point one day. He said that his superpower is that he's a reducer, not a producer. Sometimes you got to know what to take out. You know what I'm saying? With so many people in the mix, y'all didn't need more people. Y'all had the perfect sauce. I needed to understand, and that took a minute. Like, yo, what's your job here? Remember, it was a lot of stuff.
Man,
I ain't gonna get deeper.
It's the first time for all of us. We ain't know what the heck was going.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Like I don't think you could fault anybody, anything,
Not
like
at all.
from then, because I'm all of a sudden nationally, internationally, just like on TV and so on. You know, y'all are dealing with business things and people coming to you on the side. Yo, what's up with this? Like nobody knew what that was, but you know,
we did not have control.
Like,
we lost control of the show, bro. We pitched a show that was all our concept, and because of how it went down and the showrunners, you know, at one point they kicked us out of the fucking writers' room. You know what I'm saying? One of the other partners, of which we don't say their names anymore, was a bit aggressive and trying to, you know, more aggressive than us, you know, and trying to get in these rooms. And they were like, actually, we're okay. So the relationship with MTV and how the show was created was very tough for us to watch our baby get taken out of our hands.
Yep.
And then because of contracts, we're being told what the show is going to look like. Yeah. And so we had to really cross our fingers when it finally came out to hope that this legacy brand that we built still had legs to stand on. And God bless it, it worked out. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you. Shout out to the MCs, because, you know, everything on that show was great.
Yeah, I think that, overall, like what Ant was saying, we didn't know what we were doing. Like, we got the show. The whole plan was to get a TV show, and we got the TV show. And once we got the TV show, we go to MTV. They like, oh yeah, so who's your director? Who's your producers? And we like, we don't know. So like, that's basically why we had to get a showrunner. And we didn't even know what a showrunner was until then. And then like, so we learned as we went along.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as like when we started Lyricist Lounge. We learned as we went along. Like this was our whole story of our, you know, of our professional lives, you know, with doing Lyricist Lounge and everything. But the main thing was we did it. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody else that could say, like in our position, that could say they have a TV show. You know what I mean?
And to this day, people watch the episodes on YouTube,
and it's classic.
When it's coming back to this day. What I also wanted to say about it as well too is, I'm writing notes down because of things popping in my head. Is I didn't realize how important and how valuable 2 seasons were. Like this shows now, 1 season is a wrap.
That's it.
So to make it to 2, that's a big deal now. Like you see, if for those out there that watch a lot of like streaming things, there's always a list like come out every year about Netflix. This joint, see it. There's a lot of people that watch binge watch their favorite show on Netflix, and they be like, "Yeah, I just binge watched that. There's only 1 season though. There's only 1 season." Like so, even now today, I look back at it like, "Yo, brothers had 2 seasons." You know, it's hard to get to a 2nd season. It's
you know what else is important to explain. You know, for those who love the show, and shout out to y'all for keeping the vision alive. This was a very interesting time in film production, right? When the show first came out, TV film production. When the show first came out, it trailed the Real World, right? Real World came on, one of the biggest shows on fucking MTV, and we're coming out right after it. Then I think it was after Tom Green, or it was, you know, they were playing with the scheduling. Shows at that time, and mind you, MTV was not NBC and ABC. These are high level budgets. This is cable budget saying, we don't have a lot, but we have, you know. And so, but still, although they didn't have a lot, each episode was $500,000, right? So it was $500,000 per episode. By the time second season started coming around, you had a shift in television production and in cameras. You had digital cameras now coming out, right? And there was a new show called
Jackass.
What the hell's the name? Jackass, right?
Jackass.
So with Jackass,
I remember them showing us Jackass in my dressing room.
Those shows were probably like $100K or $50K.
Yeah, lowered it.
Like for production itself, not to pay the people, but like it wasn't. So you got this weighing going on of like $500,000 or this other inexpensive thing that's fucking taking off right now. Yeah. And so our show got caught up in that shift. It wasn't so much that the show wasn't good. I think that it was a financial thing. And then, you know, showrunners and directors and just them figuring out.
A lot of people don't know the second season, we ended up having Tom Green gets ended. And what they did is to try to keep the Tom Green writers, they actually gave us Tom Green writers.
Yeah,
for those that don't know. They changed the staff and gave us that. And that was like a very contentious situation there. And I believe at that time we had a director that knew about hip hop. And we got the second season, we got a director that didn't care about hip hop. So if we messed up a line or didn't say it, he was like, come on, it doesn't matter. It's going to be all right. It doesn't matter. He's not understanding that if I mess up my rhyme, his rhyme doesn't make sense. So that was a lot of the behind the scenes of it as well. I wanted to ask going forward, looking back at what y'all have done, what do y'all think is like the biggest contribution thus far? Because y'all got so much other things to contribute.
Biggest contribution.
I got my thoughts.
The biggest contribution overall, like from what
to hip hop culture, like when you sit back, you know, before we was talking about like my birthday and like what are you going to do on your birthday, and I said I just want to sit down, man, and just reflect and think about all these things. What would you, if you had to go like, man, I remember when that happened, you know?
Oh wow, damn, that's pretty tough. That's pretty tough. I would say there's been many, but like, you know, Lyricist Lounge, the Lyricist Lounge show is definitely one of them. Like, you know, having a show on actual television is like, that's like monumental to me. But
and
in
Danny,
regards,
I don't want to cut you off right there, but I didn't know you were doing that with Power. So now I can see the connection of why that would be a passionate part to you. See, now I make an even deeper connection with understanding why a TV show. So just think, I'm around you learning, you know, we're practicing to get the show and all this. I have no idea how passionate you are about the TV aspect of us getting the show until now.
Crazy. And it's wild because like that's the reason why I was pushing to have Power on the show, because I remember like it was kind of like a little challenge to, you know, have him on board in the beginning, because, you know, like, you know, our other partners, they didn't understand why. You know,
Power wasn't rapping like that. For those that don't know, Power can rap. He was doing music with a Latin band, and he was out doing stuff, but he wasn't at the open mic heavy on stage like that.
Exactly.
So he definitely was a performer and doing music, but he wasn't in the circles of us underground rapping. I met Power and knew Power, and then when I got real tight with Power would be when he invited me to perform for his father passing, and he had a show at SOB, right? And then from then I knew Power more from that, and then we kind of bonded. But I didn't know anything about Power's past performing, so even me, I'm like, okay, y'all picked him, but I had Yeah, I had no
Right.
apprehension on him because I seen him so much in videos with the afro. So I'm more so like, I gotta, you know, if y'all picked him, he must be here for a reason vibe. I was like that. But yeah, so this explains a lot to me as far as you know, Danny already having like this passion for TV. I didn't know none of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
man.
there, like I said, me being in high school and, you know, doing editing at, you know, 15 and, you know, looking up to Spike Lee as a director. It was just, you know, it was a time, you know, and then with Most, you know, Most being, you know, on the Cosby Mysteries and, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
we were seeing the possibilities, you know. Me and Danny had just a sidebar thing. Danny and I, when we were shopping the album, we ended up in LA. We were in the Disney building. We were meeting with Disney to see if they would be one of our distributors. Don't ask me how the fuck we got there, right? But we in Disney, underground ass motherfuckers in Disney having this conversation. And the lady was like, "What are you guys doing after this?" We were like, "I don't know. We, you know, going to the beach." They're like, "Yo, y'all should hang out. Y'all should hang out. There's like a audition happening on the 14th floor for this new movie." I was like, "Well, word, what's the name of it?" She was like, "Oh, my posse don't do homework." And I was like, "Nah, I ain't fucking with that." What is it called? My posse don't do homework? I'm like, nah. Turned out years later that shit turned into Dangerous Minds, and all the motherfuckers was in that shit. But you know, it was one of those classic moments of us on our journey and always being around television. It's, you know, movie opportunities, you know. But yeah, man, those were classic moments. We were young, bro. We had, you got to think, 98, 99, right before getting the TV show. We have, this is a culmination of the company of what we've started since 91. We've pushed our way through years of open mics, showcases, albums with you know, mixtapes with Echo, an album with Raucus, several tours, right? We're doing all of this shit. Now we got an MTV show. So we have an MTV show. We already put out a first album. We're just kind of understanding how to do these tours. Now I'm in LA with no driver's license. Remember, we are 27, 26-year-old New Yorkers who've never driven.
That's why I got my license too, man. I had to get, because I was out there the first season. Everybody driving me around. I said I ain't having this. I went home.
Ain't happening no more.
Second season, I came back with a license. I was terrible with the driving. I was giving
we all
the
learned how to drive
curb
in LA.
rash.
Yep. I crashed my shit several times, bro. I had a rental for 2 months.
Yeah, I was out there looking terrible with the
Who
car.
gets a budget car rental for 2 months? You know how much that is a day? I could have bought two cars, bro. Yeah, bro. I was wilding the hell out. But, you know, just to answer your question, man, I know we getting to the end of all this. I think when it's all said and done, what I'm most proud about is that people will be able to look at us and look back and see with real-time proof how we built a legacy. Not many people can say that. We are not a record label. We are not music producers. We are not TV producers, event planners. We are legacy builders. And, you know, when I go into a Waffle House, when I go into a Chick-fil-A, when I go into any of these fucking big ass conglomerates, I look at that little bio on the side, and y'all should too, to remind you of like, not everything happens overnight. A lot of these companies started in the 30s and the 40s.
Yeah.
And so no matter what you're going through in your timeline as a brand, as a company, as a man, as a woman, you know, it's about the whole story. You know what I'm saying? It's about the whole story and your ability to pass that story on. And that's what I'm most proud of. We built a really strong story beyond the brand. We've built a really strong story. And I'm looking forward to, you know, what our children, you know, what our community's children does with the brand and with the movement, you know. So yeah.
What's to expect next from the Lyricist Lounge and then of course share your social media stuff. But what's the next couple things you got going on? I guess I wonder because also, Danny, I know you still do the promotions. You got the club stuff going on still. And I know, and you got the wellness stuff. We was talking about that. What's the, I guess, the next version of Lyricist Lounge? Because now it's morphed into so many different things, right? So what do y'all see as far as the next version of Lyricist Lounge or yourselves? Maybe like being authors and teaching or whatever. What are some of the next versions?
Danny, you want to jump? Okay. We've been working really hard trying to answer that question to ourselves first and foremost. So the short answer is we have a new Cypher series, content series that we're dropping, right? So there's been all these Cypher content that's been out, and we're just kind of jumping in that circle, right? For our community and our age, I feel like a lot of us kind of skipped this whole social media phase because of a number of reasons, but we're getting into that. So folks can definitely see a lot more coming out of us there. We're also looking to start opening, at one point we were going to open an actual venue, right? A Lyricist Lounge club. And at some point we may still do that. But the reality is there's only one Apollo. It's not like multiple Apollos all around the world. And so when it comes to scaling a venue concept, it's kind of hard. But there's a million Starbucks everywhere, right? There's a million cafes everywhere. And so the idea of doing these smaller lyricist lounges, right, is something that we're developing, a members only type of space where you can come, be a part of any ciphers that are going on, but also be a part of these, speaking engagements, hear from someone you respect about the industry, learn, shit that we take for granted now, right? Because everything is online. We really want to get back to how it started, and really make this about the community, and then slowly workshop from there why Lyricist Lounge is important. It's hard for us to answer that, right? We got to answer that with the community. And to do that, we need a space for the community to hang out and grow from. So the content, the private membership only spaces, and then yes, definitely on the wellness front, looking at the events we do as cultural wellness events. We want to do these events for free, which is what we started at. We wanted to be a nonprofit in the beginning. But now, it just makes a lot of sense. No one should really have to pay for these events anymore. We had senators coming out to our show with Raekwon, council members. Awesome. Y'all using us? Let's use you. What kind of budgets you got for us next year? We want to be able to do this on a wide scale for free. And then you could come back and talk to the people, right? But the truth is we need their support, to do this right. And so that's what we're stepping into. We just getting a little older, a little smarter, a little more strategic.
Yeah. Also, like we plan on putting out more music as well, like through putting out vinyl records. Also,
shouts to Fat Beats.
Yeah, Lyricist Lounge Volume 3. Hopefully we could release that next year. So we got a lot on the plate. We still developing our rhyme sketch program that of course we would love for you to be a part of. Words.
Of course.
I'm always down, man.
You know what I mean? Big shout to John Robinson being our first instructor. He did a great job. He did an awesome job. I mean, if Words was in New York, he would definitely been that dude. But we gonna expand, and we'll build with you on that too. You know
what I saw that I was thinking about now, listening to all these things y'all do and have done. That Origins thing, man. When I saw it, see, I'm home, but I'm seeing it online. Like, yo, I wish I was there. It made me think like, man, that's a dope series. But I was thinking about Master Ace has his musical right now, and it's dope. And the last time he did a cabaret with it recently, and it was dope because me being where I'm at, I paid and watched it online.
Oh, that's good.
So I thought that gave me more ideas too going forward with what I want to do too. So just kind of throwing that out there too, because I'm gonna be man, I wish I would have seen the Origins. I'd have probably paid that little, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'd have probably paid for that Origins to watch that.
We're working on it.
You got me thinking about it. So seeing Ace do that gave me ideas and whatnot. But before y'all go give your social media, I would like to thank y'all for, first of all, spending time. Both of y'all here together. You know what I'm saying? Yo, I know what it's like being partners groups. Like every time, family, schedules. It's a Saturday.
Anything for you, Word. Nah,
it's a Saturday,
for
brothers.
You, brother.
I know it's a Saturday.
For
you know so I appreciate that, man. And just overall, man, I appreciate y'all for recognizing my talent and just letting me be me, and then like figuring it out too. And we still here doing it, and I'm doing what I do, but I'm always willing to share my experience and information if you need it.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
And I think doing this interview with y'all, I learned a lot more about y'all, because y'all talk, if somebody talk to y'all ain't gonna really be just divulging information, you know what I mean? Like for some of these questions. But you know, that's another thing though. Maybe I just need to talk to y'all more and call y'all and see what's up on my side.
Same here.
Just to kind of say what's up, what you up to? What you up to? I think I gotta do that more too, you know. So I really appreciate y'all wholeheartedly. What's up with your social medias?
You can check me out at Ant Marshall at ANT Marshall with 2 L's. Pretty much on all platforms, and at Lyricist Lounge as well on all platforms. Castro, what's your joint?
You can catch me at DCashflow74 on all the platforms. You know, IG, TikTok, and you know, Twitch. I mean, you know,
you got to edit that part out.
I'm gonna keep it. It ain't bad. People know what you mean.
Twitter.
I know what you mean.
You know,
there's
so many platforms now. Like now,
I know.
Yo, it's crazy.
You know what I mean?
I know.
It's crazy.
Yo, so
thank you, Words, bro. I appreciate you.
Appreciate
I'm glad
you,
you're doing this. You know what I'm saying? Please keep going.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Just all that you represent, especially when it comes to education and the culture. Man. You've really been ahead of all of us on that. You know what I mean? You've been you and Tamir. You and Tamir, man.
Tamir was ahead of it way before me.
Yeah. Y'all don't play when it comes to the education, and we need that. You know, the culture for too long has coasted on just the culture. Like, you know, this, you know, it's we got so comfortable in our culture that it's almost like we felt like we didn't need to get any more education. Just us educating each other about our culture was enough, and it's not. You know what I mean? We got to understand what we don't understand so we can take the culture to places that we've never imagined. You know what I'm saying? This is a political period that we're in, and our culture is one of the loudest cultures ever that exists. You know what I mean? And so it's just time for us to utilize our voice in the right way. It's time for us to utilize our space. You know what I mean? If you 30 plus in politics right now, you're a hip hop head. 90% of y'all are hip hop heads. So we as cultural leaders, what do we do with that? Are we utilizing that? Are we tapping in to these budgets, right? Because, you know, we're of the age where this is what we're supposed to be doing now. You're supposed to step in a little deeper. It should be stepping into education, stepping into politics. You know what I'm saying? Don't just keep that same space that you've been holding on to for 20 something years, that same DJ spot on the radio. Give that up. Give that up and move up to some other areas so you could do more, do better. You know what I mean? So I don't mean to preach, but I just got to leave people with something.
Man, because I was about to jump in with you on that too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
be able
to share people. You know what I'm saying? So like once again, thank you to my guest Anthony Marshall, Danny Castro, the founders of the Lyricist Lounge and the Lyricist Lounge TV show. And the Lyricist Lounge is wherever you are. So if you want a Lyricist Lounge where you are, holla at my peoples. You know, they can bring it to a whole other country. They can bring it to a whole other country, man.
Chapters on the way. Chapters on the way.
They got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Actually, you can holla at them to put your album together. You can holla at them to listen to the music. Holla at them about everything because they do everything. The Lyricist Lounge is legacy builders and everything. And like I always say, what are your words worth? Peace, y'all.
Peace, peace. Big
Thank
shout out
y'all,
to Lyricist
man.
Lounge Nigeria. Check them out when you out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all, man.